this last week for the Hope Kids stuff, which we'll talk about that more in just a second. So yeah, we're going to get right into a couple of announcements here, and we actually have a special guest here who's also going to be giving a special announcement of some sort, at least from what we understand. We don't know exactly what that is, but I guess we will find out. But yeah.
So the first thing is our all-church fellowship that's going to be happening this Sunday from 6:30 to 8:30. It's going to be at the Swansea Conservation Area, formerly known as the Clinton Hills Golf Course. And we will be celebrating with the Martin family and the Keller family as Minor and Nicole get married. And they are going to have their ceremony a little bit prior to our fellowship time. Some of the restrictions because of the capacities and things like that are not allowing them to have everyone there for the service. But they wanted everyone to be there to at least send them off and congratulate them. So we're going to include ourselves in that from 6:30 until 8:30, and it will be a cake reception. The pavilion area will be where that takes place, but it is limited to 25 people, so we will be using the ground space around that. Some people will probably come, pull up, honk their horn, and move on. Others might want to stay for a little while longer, but there's walking paths and all kind of things out there that you can access while you tell Minor and Nicole congratulations.
Yep. Have your mask on hand, and since we are going to be at a conservation area, there's going to be plenty of space to spread out, like you said, the walking trails and whatnot. But we'll just want to remain sensitive to that per the request of the people who kind of run that conservation area. Another thing that we wanted to let you know about, speaking of Honeybee earlier, that was the character that was at the end of the services last Sunday, the Hope Kids devotional that we've been including at the end of our Sunday morning videos. And we are now making a change so that instead of having to go off the church website and log into Lifeway to access the Gospel Project curriculum, we're trying to bring all of that over to the hopechapel.life website so that when you click on the Hope Chapel devotional, though you still will need a password to access the page, you won't need to have a username or anything like that, and you'll be able to stay on the website. We will still have the video of the leaders doing the lessons. We will still have sort of activities or engagement opportunities in there, and memory verses, music, some of that other stuff. And we will also continue to include, though I don't know after this last week if we want to do this, but we will continue to include the videos of the leaders in the Sunday morning video. It will just be where you go to access the actual devotional.
So we're streamlining just a little bit, but there's a lot of work that's gone into this over the last 6 months, and Heather Tabor has done a great job with all of the different people that have been involved with pulling things together. And I would just encourage some of our younger families to really take advantage of some of these resources. And if nothing else, watch the videos with your kids and have some conversation, because it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to give you one more piece of information just related to what the elders have been working on. As you know, several months back when some of the tension that was taking place within the United States as regards some of the racial division and some of the problems that have been, not just recently, but over a long period of time in the history of our country, the elders took a proactive look at some of those things and even had some meetings and conversations and just some times of listening. And through that, we want to expand some of that conversation from just the few people that we were talking to maybe a larger audience, maybe even the entire body at some point in time, so that we are on the same page as God Himself as to how people should be treated and what we should do in loving and caring for people and showing mercy and understanding what justice means to God for people. So we wanted to have a foundation for some of those things, and I've asked the elders to work on a position paper related to that, and we have finished that. It's undergoing some final edits right now, but we want to get it out to you so that you understand the foundation that we are going to work from as we proactively look at some of these issues and try to walk into them as the church instead of just sitting back and kind of watching from a distance. So that will be coming out in the next week or so, and we'll be having some more conversations on that.
Yeah, it's going to be important for us to engage here, as we've alluded to over the past few months. There's so many different opinions on what is going on, why it's going on, what the solutions are. And we are a people who are guided by one who gives us truth that brings light and clarity into difficult situations, and the things in this world that can blind people or even cause confusion. And though we may not have, we're not going to be able to stake the claim on having all of the answers to the questions that people are asking, we're just feeling it incumbent on us as a leadership to provide whatever guidance we can based on what the Word of God provides for us and based on how we know the Spirit of God desires to work through us in this time, in this culture, with the opportunities that the Lord has laid before us, so that we as a body aren't left to the same place that the rest of our culture is, and that is in this social media platform culture. Everybody has their own opinion, and everybody has this platform where they're just screaming it at the top of their lungs. We really want to be able to coalesce around what we know to be true, what we know to be honoring before the Lord, in the way that we respond, engage, listen, learn, and act on the opportunity that's before us. What we know for sure is this is not a situation or an issue that we can or should just turn a blind eye to or ignore, but to speak into it.
And it's also not a one and done.
Right.
We're not going to be able to just put out a position paper and say, okay, we're finished, because that's not how Jesus responded to a lot of the stuff that was going on even in his day. I mean, when you look in the scriptures, you find a lot of things that were related to ethnicities and minorities and things that Jesus stepped into purposefully with the life-changing message of the gospel, and he actually physically touched people. He physically talked to people. He physically listened to people. He just didn't stand back. And so we want to remember that even as the prophets in the Old Testament wrote, Micah specifically, he asked the question at one point in time, what are the things that God requires of a man? Micah 6:8. It's to do what is just, to love what is merciful, and to walk humbly before your God. And so we want to make sure that as we're doing what we're doing and saying what we're saying, that we're literally walking out in the steps of Jesus, much like these conversations we've been talking about. How did Jesus interact with people? We want to be like him. And that is a proactive thing, because the one thing we understand about love from Scripture is that it's always active.
Yeah. So this is an important opportunity. It's an important step that we can and need to take as even a body, not only as Hope Chapel, but as the church at large.
Right.
And this is in line. It's consistent with what we've been saying over the past few months. It's time for us to stop looking in the rearview mirror about how things used to be and trying to get our lives back to normal, and to close our ears to all the things that make us frustrated or uncomfortable. Now is the time to recognize that under God's sovereignty has allowed the issues in our world to take place as they have, and that we are here in this moment to be obedient in what moving forward for his purposes looks like. And that's what we're wanting to do as we move forward.
And I know we weren't going to include this, we didn't talk about this at all, so I'm going off the cuff here. But yesterday, I had an encounter with a lady. I was just in a store, and I began to talk to her, and we just began to converse. And as we did that, it was interesting because we are of a very different skin tone. Let's just put it in that terminology. But as we were standing there, we were talking, and she intimated to me some things that led me to believe that she was a believer, a follower of Jesus. And so I told her, I said, I'm really glad to meet a sister. And she looked at me, and she had her mask on, and I had a mask on, and she pulled it down, and she just smiled real big. And I said, isn't it good that we have the same Father? And she just said, yeah. And then we started talking about things related to who Christ is. And what was crazy about it was there was 4 people in line behind me that were overhearing this conversation between 2 believers from very different worlds, probably, very different places, probably. And yet at the same time, there was this loving interaction that was taking place there. And I believe that the more we as a body engage in that way, And not just to go out there and try to find other believers, but to engage humanity in that way. We are going to show Christ to people.
Yeah. So we want to take advantage of those opportunities as we believe the Spirit of God is leading us into those. So with that, we're now going to transition into the end of this video, which don't hang up yet. Don't click away yet, because we have somebody who has come here who wants to make some sort of announcement that we don't know about. And he's actually going to end the video for us. So when you're done, you can just hit this right here. It just says end stream. So yeah. All right. Take it away.
All right, that wasn't meant to be that kind of a transition, but hey, speaking of opportunity, Pastor Appreciation Month is October, and we really want to get the word out as the deacon board that we have two amazing men of God who have been working tirelessly through everything to maintain unity, to maintain a Christ focus, to maintain what the Lord would want for us. So October, again, is Pastoral Appreciation Month. On the 4th, there's the first Sunday of October, we will have our first in-person meeting of the month at the Shrine. The deacons will be presenting our appreciation for the pastors, but you are more than welcome to do so on the 4th if you would like to. The reason we're doing it on the 4th is because we're in person, and the next opportunity that we would have in person would be the 18th of October as well. I believe we're meeting at the O'Fallon Park in that way. So if you'd like to contact a deacon, I don't want to go too much, don't go too long, I don't want to give too much information because sometimes it gets muddy. This is being recorded, so you can go back and check it out. But the deacons will be contacting people that we have on what we call our call list, and we will also be getting a hold of life group leaders to kind of get the word out that October is, I guess, the structured human time that we say, hey, let's say thank you to our pastors and show them the appreciation that we have for them. If you want to do something next week, you're more than welcome to. If you want to do something for Christmas, again, we just want to make sure that we are showing our pastors that we see who you are, we see what you're doing. If that means a card, if that means a heartfelt letter, if that means a gift card to their favorite restaurant, if that means mowing their grass or raking their leaves or offering babysitting for, do as you would choose. But our hearts want to go out to our pastors. So I guess with that, I can bid you guys a nice day. I hope to see you guys all on the 4th and at the wedding ceremony.